Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Christmas Eve holiday Misfit Toys extravaganza. As always, I have my talented, gorgeous, and not to be messed with co-host Maria De La Ghetto. Give me some snaps, some jazz hands. And we have from Los Angeles, the very talented, the hilarious Denise Winkleman. What's up? What's up? What's up?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. The way that we start each show is we breakfast and bitch. And bitch stands for terrifying, crazy, and hard. Now, I think I just froze, so let's repeat that again. Yes. Bizarre, ironic, terrifying, crazy, and hard.
Okay.
That's the name of 2020.
Pretty much. So, Denise, what did you have for breakfast, and what do you have to BITCH about?
So here's what I had for breakfast. I don't do breakfast. I do intermittent fasting because I think that makes me healthy. So like all that means is I get high and eat junk food all night. But so what I had for breakfast, so I bought my roommates for Christmas Olive Garden, like a bake at home thing for tomorrow. So I raided the salad and breadsticks for lunch today.
Yeah, that's delicious. That sounds delicious.
And just the rest of it, like you totally lost me on what the rest of it stands for. So it just things to complain about. I guess just 2020. So like I moved to Los Angeles 2 weeks before this thing started. So
wow.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just like. I quit my long-time job in finance. Yeah, I quit my long-time job in finance to move here, and I haven't been able to find another job. So I'm one step away from just giving HJs in a truck stop parking lot. Like that's about where I'm
at. Wow, where did you move from?
Denver.
Well, I mean, that's
well, and it's been weird too, right? Because Denver's awesome. They have a good comedy scene. Denver's been more open than LA, but
right.
I've lived all over. I grew up in Minnesota. I lived in Cincinnati for 10 years. I lived in Denver, and then I moved here, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect timing. Like we got to really take a shot at this. And 2 weeks later, everything shut down.
Damn. I feel so bad because you don't experience LA's like even though I'm the first one to talk shit about people moving from the Midwest or anywhere else to LA. I mean, I still do touristy shit because LA's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a local. I grew up there, and then it all shut down. Although I will say there's still a lot of places that you can. For me though, it's the food. I'm like, oh, at least you get to eat the yummy things. So.
Yeah. LA is awesome. Like I'm so excited to do this stuff. Like I was excited. I live down the street from like 2 comedy clubs, and like I'm really close to Ha-Ha's, and then like 10 minutes away from Clappers. So like I'd see all these mics that are going on, like stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I'm really gonna establish myself. Like it's gonna be easy to get in, and like I'll really be able to focus on it. And then everything's been Zoom, which I could have done.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I did the open mics at Ha-Ha like many a times. I know the people, like I know the owners and stuff, and they're really sweet. What's crazy is this is my 3rd time like jumping back into comedy, like really full throttle. Like this time though, I went 100%. I quit my 9 to 5 last November. And there he is.
I swear.
But I was saying I quit my job in November last year. I was doing the open mics from November to March when like everything, we weren't doing any quarantine. And I kid you not, the moment we went into quarantine, this past year has done more for my career in those 4 months. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you. I really feel you, girl. So, but blessing in disguise in a way,
It is, and for the good part, like I haven't had like this is the first time where I haven't had a real job. Like I would go weeks without doing like mics and stuff in Denver because I was getting up at 5 a.m. to do financial stuff, and that was paying the bills. So me moving here, like it was like that opportunity to just really focus on comedy, and it took a minute for people to figure out the Zoom stuff, but once they did, it's like nonstop now, and I've met so many more comics because of it.
Same. I think it's amazing. I met Eggy through the Zoom comedy, like I think the connections that I've made through Zoom have been so like, I don't want to say more beneficial, but just has expanded the network. So now I'm like, yo, I'm going to Chicago once we finally are let out of our houses. Like, yo, I'm going to Chicago. What's good? Can you book me a spot? Hey, I'm in New York. What's good? Like, I love it. You know what I mean? It's not going to be this way forever. So.
Well, and I wonder if there's going to be more of a virtual base just for open mics and stuff. It's just so easy. Like you can hop on and like run a couple jokes by some comics and then go do go get booked on a show somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely hope that they keep like they integrate it. You know what I mean? Like just utilize. It's just another tool we get to utilize and take advantage of and make everything that much better. But what do you think, Iggy? Are you ready to go back out there? When this thing is over? Do you think like you're gonna focus more on the live shows, or are you gonna try to integrate both?
So, I'm gonna be honest. I took the Tony Robbins workshop.
Really?
I did it. They didn't make me walk on hot coals because they did it virtually, but I broke my little board with all of my intentions on it and broke through the other. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid. Like they gave me all these little like things they sent in the mail, and so during the thing, I'm like, yes, Queen, yes, yeah. Like it got ugly. It got my ass out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you know how much of a morning person I am.
You're not exactly. Yes.
It was a 14-hour non-stop Zoom call for 4 days straight. It was brutal. But I gotta say, it definitely it changed my life. It caused me to pivot, not like 360 completely, but it forced me to take a hard look at where I'm at, where I want to be, and what's keeping me from getting there. And the way that they did the show blew my mind. They had a theater in the round with these giant 20-foot screens that were circular that went all the way around in 360. And the performer or the speaker or whoever was going on was in the middle talking in the round and projected from behind onto the giant massive screen with the thousands and thousands of people who were on the Zoom call.
Oh, hold on. We got Popo. That's Denise's background, huh? Good old LA.
I live in North Hollywood. Like I'm just random stuff happens.
Yeah, like, girl.
My random stuff is like a pheasant just flew into my balcony door. Like that's what I deal with. So what was interesting is they had 15, 20,000 people on the call, which is a lot. Yeah. And each of the Zoom rooms can hold 350. So you were in what they called teams, and you had a Zoom team with 350 people that you could interact with. And then they would broadcast your team onto the screen, and you could see yourself live interacting with the people. Whoa. And because of the control panel, they can adjust the volume. So if someone's acting crazy or if they want to hear the laughter or, but anytime Tony Robbins can be like, oh, what's up, Team 15? I see you, Iggy. And then they would blast me onto the screen and we would have an interaction. And then it would go back to the regular thing. But it was the most interactive online experience I've had. And it was awesome. And honestly,
Zoom times 20.
Cost-wise,
Zoom on crack. Jesus, that must have been expensive, bro.
Usually these are like $5-10 grand a pop to go to these things.
Jesus Christ.
And this was like $600-700 to do it.
Only.
Which is not cheap, but it's not $10,000.
Exactly.
Yeah, your margin of like spending is vastly different than the rest.
Well,
of
I was
it.
like,
I'm over here fucking like, do I want this $50 video game or like?
So imagine Beyonce doing a show in the round in the 360. And
That would be about $600-700.
Right. It's going to be a ticket to see Beyonce front row in Los Angeles would cost you upwards of $5,000 easily.
Probably.
So you can spend, let's say, $50, sit front row, and there's a chance that you're going to be broadcast on stage with her and she can interact with you. And you're watching it live and you're part of the show. Awesome. I really see that as becoming the future of entertainment. Whereas you can have a global interactive show and everybody gets a front row seat and everybody gets a chance to actually be seen on that stage, be invited to interact with the entertainers. And I really love it. It was great. The interaction was great. The camaraderie was great. And what's cool, you can like hit up people in your room and the thing, you slide in on the DM. You can't slide in on the DM on a regular concert. So the fact that I could like slide in on the DM and like, hey, you're looking cute with your little thumbs up paddle. How you doing, Mr. Was it 69? I like you.
What's funny is I've talked about this before with my sister. Big time celebrities, especially big time comedians, there's a lot of pushback from them on doing Zoom stuff. Like they're not big on doing any kind of like concert or big time like comedy shows on Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand, like the most I've heard, and it wasn't really in detail, it's still kind of vague. It was something about like liability and how people can jump in and Zoom bomb and da-da-da-da-da. But like, I feel like with that kind of money that they have, like Tony Robbins, like I'm going to be honest, I think life coach people are just a whole other breed of like, ill. I'm not going to lie. Like Tony, like you are literally selling like placebo pills to people. So I like the extent that they make their money, because I'm not gonna lie, like I've listened to motivational speakers and some of them, they have some good things to say, but like the extent that they are able to make a career out of this stuff, I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with all that. Like, I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But what my original point is like celebrities have that kind of money to do that. So I'm wondering why they have so much, like why they're so hesitant to move into the digital world. Like, why is it just because they're old boomers and they don't want to be like, in my day, we got on a stage and we performed, Like, what is it?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, because you have those people that you want that live reaction of the crowd, and that's how they grew up, and that's why they do stand up or they perform. But the people that are adapting to it are the ones who are going to be successful, because then you could be like Miley Cyrus and do a concert from your backyard and have 1 million people like watch it. I have a lot of wrestling friends who they have a good fan base, and one of the things they're doing is they do a podcast and then they do a Patreon where you can just pay, and like twice a month it's just them drinking, and their famous friends hop on and all these people like drink with them, and they pay like $100 to drink with them, And I was like, that's what I want. Like, I just want to get plastered, people
and get paid for it. I'm curious if it's also like an elitist thing, because my sister brought this up and I thought about that, and I was like, they don't want people to have that kind of access to them. Like, it would make them too normal. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because celebrities have, no matter what, they're on this pedestal of like fame and fortune, whatever that people put them on. So if they were to like come back down to that level, like, hey, I'm just another person like you, it might, I don't know, maybe they're afraid they'll lose that like glamour, that whole, and then people will be like, oh, she's just like the rest of us. And I don't know. I'm just curious about that.
No, I think it's a good point. Like, you never know, like so when I was doing wrestling, like we were always told you want to portray yourself as a star. Like you don't want to look like somebody could just walk in off the street and do it.
Right.
So you want to be dressed up. You want to just carry yourself like a star, and that's like the difference between those who do it and those who don't. And I think in any realm of show business, there's that piece of it. But have you seen some of the guy comics though, like where they just like it looks like they just picked their worst hoodie out and they're just
I'm like, those motherfuckers are doing it. How like why do I gotta look extra special? Like they just rolled up out of bed, put on their privilege, and called it a day. You know what I'm saying?
Ziggy, you look fantastic.
Hide,
You're top of the
hide in my little hoodie and just disappear. I'm on the struggle bus today. I didn't know what to do. I found this visor. I'm like, the 80s have got me.
You
and they're
look
not
Russian gymnast trainer.
The 80s have grabbed me by the mullet and they will not let me go. They will not let me go.
But here's a point to that too. It's like, okay, what does the glitz and glamour have to do with talent? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a talented anything, people will know that you can't just come up off the street and do it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you like a comedian, clearly that takes a lot of work, you know, like Joe Coy didn't sell out stadiums just doing whatever. He didn't just come up and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like it took work. So it's like, it's not just glitz and glamour, obviously. Like look at, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'm gonna toot my own horn. I'm wearing fucking space buns and a Hocus Pocus t-shirt and
right.
I'm doing the damn thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
well, and I think comedy is one that kind of transcends a little bit, where it's like you can look like a normal person, and your talent carries over. I'm kind of like, because I did some fitness modeling and I have a lot of like of those photos up online. I'm always like, oh, I better dress up, unless it's
right.
then I don't care. But, like I show up with no makeup. I'm like, what did I do to myself? Like, what happened today?
You were a wrestler, like WWE type stuff?
Yeah. So with me, I'm very openly transgender, and so I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. My family is very conservative Christian. My dad's a small town evangelical pastor. So, and growing up in the 90s, like it wasn't okay to be different in that culture. Like, so I made a very conscious decision when I was like 10 years old. I was like, I knew I was trans, even though I didn't know how to verbalize it. And I wanted to tell my parents. And what I did was, okay, I can do that. And I wasn't brave enough to do that because I thought they'd send me to a camp somewhere.
They might have. That's real.
Just because, not that they're bad people, they just didn't know what to do with it. And even when I came out in my 30s, my mom was like, well, you should go to a Christian counselor who can pray for you. And so what I decided to do was...
Did he pray the penis away? Did he pray the vagina to stay? Did that happen?
Yes, they had no idea what to do with me. They're like, "What are you talking about? Like, what is this going on right now?" Yeah. But with my dad, so I made a conscious decision to be masculine, and I got really into basketball. My friends were really into wrestling because wrestling was hot at the time, was Stone Cold, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, well, this is kind of cool. This seems like a community of people. So I did all this research. I found a wrestling school, and there were several wrestling schools at the time. I found an affordable one in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati had the WWE contract where they would, kind of what NXT is now, where they would pay for these guys to train. They would pay their salaries. So you would get like Randy Orton and John Cena before they ever were on TV.
Wow.
And so that contract was just ending, and there was like an offshoot promotion, but they had trained a lot of people. And so I wrote a handwritten letter. This is like during the time, and I sent it to all these like independent places. and a guy hit me back up, and he was like, "No, I do video for this promotion. Like, you should come down and train." And we kind of became friends. I found out once I got to town that he was gay and he wanted to fuck me.
Oh, well, Jesus.
Which didn't happen, but that was like the big.
I wouldn't have judged you if you did.
Yeah, well, and the whole joke, like in this masculine environment, was like, "Oh, you moved all the way out here for this dude." And I was like, "No, that's not why I like that. Didn't know. Like, did I just get into a casting couch? Like, well, what is going on here?" So I met. To name drop a little bit, if not sure if you guys follow wrestling, day one of wrestling school, I met Carl Anderson, the guy who became Carl Anderson. He co-founded the Bullet Club in Japan. He was in WWE as like a tag team champion and stuff. And he was like my roommate. He was like a best man in my wedding back in the day.
Wow.
So we became like pretty good friends. And I'd always see his work ethic, because when he was making no money, he would work harder than everybody else. And it kind of reinforced that when I got into comedy. But I was just trying to be like masculine, and we had this like group of, in a lot of ways it was like comedy. It was good, like we had a range of open micers all the way to people that were going to be pro, like kind of doing it. And I did it for 5 years. I did it 03 to 08. And what they would do is they would do these bits that were like, okay, we're going to do a promo class. And it was kind of like improv, and they'd look at me and be like, okay, be a dog, or like be a cat. And or like, and one day they said, be a mad scientist. And I was like, okay. So they gave me a second to think about it. And in my mind, I was like, well, if you're going to be in your basement making potions, it should be like really intense, and you should like prey on like the insecurities and stuff. So I go out there and do this like really intense promo, and I get done, and like all the guys are just looking at me and they're like, "That's you." Like, that's you. And I was like, "What? Like, I thought I was gonna be a player. I thought like I'm gonna be like the dude like hooking up with all the chicks or something." And I was like, "You want me to do what? Like, you want me to go chew the ropes and like wander around like an idiot and yell science and brilliant?" And so in my mind, I was like, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna just make it as good as I possibly can. And so I would do these like really crazy promos like on shows and stuff. And the biggest compliment I've ever gotten was Carl Anderson used to tell his boys in WWE that I was the best promo he's ever watched, which is a huge compliment. But like the promo itself would be, if I were cutting a promo on Iggy, it'd be like, and I can't even do the voice because it was like super intense, and I'd be screaming and stuff. But it would be like, "Iggy, I see you with all your little friends, and all the girls swoon over you, all the guys want to be you, and you make me absolutely sick. Like, I'm here at the School of Mad Scientistry in Vermont. We have lots of maple syrup and all the fall foliage you could want. I've whipped up a potion, so when I beat you on Friday, I'm going to give you a potion and turn you into a billy goat." Oh, wait.
God. Oh, man.
So I would just say really like funny things in a very intense way, and just like to like pop the boys and stuff. And yeah, it was fun. I did it for 5 years, then it started to hurt, but the whole time I was just thinking like, I can't be really tight with anybody. I can't be close to anybody because they're going to find out I'm trans, and I can't really let people in. So when I came out a couple years later, I quit in 08. I think I came out in 2011, 2012 range, and I had been married and some other stuff there. And it was just one of those things, like I told all the wrestlers. And this was like Cincinnati, border of Kentucky. And one of the guys was like, he talked like this. He's like, damn, dude. Oh, man. And he goes, oh, man. And we had this like serious talk. And he was like, oh, man, I thought you were going to tell me something serious. Like, you had the herpes or.
That's kind of sweet, though, right? Like.
And he was my biggest supporter. He was like I came back like after I moved to Denver and transitioned, and he was like, "Oh, you're just like you're just like sassy and this is you're just sassy as a girl. Like all that snarky shit you used to say. Like I don't know if I can swear, but I'm gonna swear. But but he would just say, "Oh, that snarky shit you said. It just plays way better when you're a girl."
That's awesome. Shout out to that guy. Oh man.
I want to give a shout out to Ray, all the way from Wales, who's watching.
Shout out to Ray.
Love you. I'm so glad you enjoyed the show. No, that's I love that story. What was the craziest thing about transitioning for you, other than having to tell all of your wrestling buddies that, you know?
Well, I think it was just telling everybody, because I had to come out to my family in Minnesota, which I had done a really good job hiding it. They had no idea, and telling my wrestling buddies in Cincinnati, and then I was working for a large finance company at the time, which kind of became a career thing. And I was working there. I moved to Denver to transition, so it was like coming out to them. So on my way out I was moving from Cincinnati to Denver.
Did you go to, I know, because I grew up in Denver. I don't remember the city, but there's a city in the mountains where the majority of the population is trans.
Trinidad, I think is.
Yeah, it's like where it's like 80% or something, like a large percentage of the entire population is trans. They're all like in the mountains, so I assume they wear plaid. It's they're but I didn't know if you visited, if that's why you went, or is it just why Denver?
So Denver, it was literally convenience. I was looking for because when you're trans, like there's a very visual component to it, and you're making so when you're. It would have been easier, I think, if I would have been gay, because then I could have chose who I could have came out to, and I kind of
right.
Literally, I was working as a guy 1 week, and the next week in Denver, I was Denise, and it was such a difference. And there were really the reason I moved was I wanted to move to do it because I thought it would be easier. And my company had a site of 6,000 people in Cincinnati, but they were starting a new site in Denver where they had 75 people day one. So it's like a kind of an opportunity to start over. And they moved all these people at the same time. So I met some people I knew in Cincinnati were in that site, which was really awkward.
Oh, yeah.
But they were really nice. And so on my way out, a VP of something with this company, this is a company of 40,000 people, calls me and says, "So you're the first person with our company to transition.
Wow.
We want to do it right. So what do you know? What do you need from us?" And then
that is surprising.
Which was really cool.
Yeah.
And in a way, it gave me access to leaders that I would not normally have access to. It kind of painted me as like the token trans kid. But there were multiple meetings. Like we had a VP of diversity and inclusion, and he would talk very directly to me, and he was very cool to me. 2 years later, we found out we didn't really have a benefits package for trans people, and a lot of companies in our industry did. So I met with a lot of the leaders of the company, and we put together a package. It took about a year to do, and we presented it to the owner of the company, and I was a driving force behind that. So with all the things that I did over the course of 12 years with that company, that's the thing I'm most proud of, because we still have that benefits package because I transitioned and I did it openly.
Yeah,
And I had access to those leaders. It was very intimidating to do, but
I'm
I feel like I
sure.
left the company better than I found it.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's amazing. You go, girl. Okay. No
Thanks.
big deal. This transition, she was like, I'm gonna make some waves. You gonna know. Might as well do it right, you know?
Well, and that's one thing that kind of taught me in stand up too was so when I started stand up, I was looking for a creative outlet. I started in 2017, and I never talked about being trans on stage because
Ooh.
I met like 2 or 3 other trans comedians just in
Mhm.
Denver, and that's kind of all they talked about. And I was like, well, I don't want to be that person. Like other
Right.
people are doing it. And I came out to LA, and I did Bobby Oliver's festival maybe 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
I did some open mics at the Tao Comedy Studio. I love Bobby. She's really cool. That's awesome.
She is so nice, and I met like a whole bunch of people there. But a friend that I had helped get booked in Denver used to be a regular at the Comedy Store in La Jolla,
Hmm.
and he got me some stage time out there. And I walked away, and my sets didn't go that great at the Comedy Store. And I walked away, and I was like, I need to be real. I
Yeah.
need to be real if I'm going to do this. And so that changed my whole thing. And I started writing more about being trans. Now I write way more about being
Right.
trans than I used to, which is brand new to me. But I used to do it where I'd tell a joke about being trans, or I'd do a little bit and then I'd go into something else.
Yeah.
And now it's like 10 minutes of shit, kind of thing.
For
And
sure.
it just made me realize that if I'm real on stage, for one, it's going to connect with the audience, but it gives the opportunity to kind of help people and do
Yeah.
it in kind of a funny way.
And it's the most funny when you just, like Iggy says, speak your truth, that, as Iggy likes to put it, transformative comedy, because that's who you are and that's what you want to convey everyone. Like, this is my experience. Take what you can from it, have a laugh, and that really is what makes comedy, you know what I'm saying? So that's amazing. Holy shit, what the heck, girl? You a baddie. You a baddie.
That's where we kind of went. But I actually met with a booking when I moved to Los Angeles. Like I ended up doing a brand new workshop with flappers,
Mhm.
and that was what they said is just write about being trans, just write about like that's what everybody wants to hear about. And I was like, I have so much other
I
weird
know.
stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm a weirdo all around. There's plenty of other things, Yeah.
yeah, we all have qualities that make us stand out, and I think that is a little bit of a trap when you're, for instance, like if you're a big girl and all you talk about is being a big girl, whether you're a Jew and you're talking about all, your identity shouldn't be tied up into just one thing. Whether if you're gay, all you talk about is being gay. If you're like, we're so more multifaceted and getting stuck in. To me, it's kind of like, yes, you need to address the, if you want to call it the elephant in the room, meaning that everybody can recognize and see, and that, okay, great. Let's talk about this. We've addressed this. Now let's move on. But you have to dwell on that for 30 minutes. I don't know if we need,
It gets tired, Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I mean, it's like, I got it. You're Jewish. You make latkes. You hate Christmas. I don't need, like, what else do we have to say? It's the same thing with, like, I'm sure it's like, okay, but the thing about trans, I think, is I did the first ever trans comedy festival in Los Angeles about 6-7 years ago now, and there was no, like, I didn't know a lot. I didn't know that there was such thing as a trans lesbian.
That's
like, I was like, what do you mean? Trans lesbian? I thought that was an airline. Like, I was like, what's a trans lesbian? Does that go like between like Lebanon and like Pennsylvania? Like, what is this trans lesbian that you speak of? And there were so many different things about this, from transitioning to the process, the cost involved, and the disappear. do you think it was easier for you to transition later in life compared to those who transition earlier in life, let's say in their teens or early 20s? Do you think it was easier because you had the financial stability, you had already kind of found, a foundation, or was it harder?
So it's a great question. I think it's very individualized. It could go either way based on the person. For me, what I wish I would have done, looking back, I wish I would have moved to San Francisco. I wish I would have skipped the whole wrestling phase. And I wish I would have started stand up and went to Berkeley at the time when I was 18. But because I didn't, I made some really great friends in wrestling. I did everything I've ever wanted to do, everything I put my mind to. I did professional wrestling. I didn't come from, I wasn't a great athlete. I was more about but I was able to work, and I hung with some really good athletes, like guys who went on to be WWE World Champion. And then because I waited, it made it easier for my family to accept me. And so I think if I would have transitioned at 18, I wouldn't have a relationship with my family.
Yeah.
Because I waited, when I came out to my parents, I said, listen, I've been married, I've done wrestling, I've had 3 girlfriends, I was a douchebag player. Like I had some really bad qualities because I was trying to fit in. And I'm at the point now, to get very serious, where I'm either going to start drinking just for fun, just to get through the day. I'm either going to hurt myself, or I'm going to give myself a chance and be happy. And I'm going to choose that one, and you can get on board or not. We don't live together. We're not in the same state. We don't have to see each other. And because I put it like that, they were able to eventually come around and be cool about it. But I think now, because more people are aware of being trans, and more people, seems like every high school has, whether it's gender fluidity or trans kids, more people have friends who are trans. So I think it becomes easier now to do that. When I was a kid, like that wasn't really a thing. So I think it would have been really, really hard. I just wish I would have done it earlier.
But I think, I mean, oh, go ahead.
My other question is that some of my trans friends and the trans people that I've worked with mentioned how difficult it is to transition without money, because the look, and what they call passing. It's easier to get a job when you quote unquote pass. Versus, and so that process of when you're still transitioning, it costs money for all of the hormones, the doctor visits, et cetera, and so if you don't have the money to fully transition and do it, quickly, people tend to not accept you. Do you find that to be true? And is it how what is your take on that?
Yeah, it's a very visual. We live in a very visual society. I was very fortunate in that and granted, part of this is a job. Like I did a whole bunch of like glamour photos before I fully transitioned. Like there was a place in Cincinnati that would do trans makeovers. So I kind of became friends with them. I took a whole bunch of kind of glamour shots. So that's kind of how I came out to my friends, is showing, look, I'm pretty, kind of thing. And, but I was very fortunate in that I had a career type of job, and and I transitioned with the company. So being presentable, I always felt like pressure, like because I was doing it as the first trans person with the company, that, oh, I got to do this right, Yeah. And but I was able to afford all the surgeries. My goal was to not be hassled unless it was in a good way, and like not be somebody that got beat up in the bathroom for going into the wrong bathroom, and
Yeah.
it's so dangerous in that aspect. But I kind of overdid on some of the surgeries and stuff like that. But
What do
money
you
is
mean by what do you mean by overdid? You can't just glaze over that one. What do you mean by overdid?
well,
You just ran skip over that one. I'm like, what? Tell it. Come on. What did you do?
well, so I did a lot of cosmetic stuff. Like I did facial feminization, and I got big ass tits, and but that was kind of my thought process, and I spent like a lot of money doing it to the point where a lot of my friends who were working in finance, like they could just go off and go to Aspen for the weekend, or they could go to Napa on a whim. And I always struggled financially because I was paying for this, and I went into debt to do it. And then when I moved out here and I became unemployed, like I fell way into debt because I just didn't have the savings to fall back on. But I feel so much more fortunate than people who you transition in college and you're trying to get a job at Starbucks, and you might get the job, you might not. And it's like getting that like next step. And it's like if an employer finds out you're trans, they can say what they want, but like it's a lot of employers will just kind of cross you off the list because it's like,
yep. I mean, they're like trans people, I've been to I went to a kind of like a workshop or seminar for trans men. And I learned that trans people in general are like really a big part of jobless, homelessness because of that very reason, And so it's like just name changing on its own. Doesn't that cost like $200-$300 or something?
It depends on the state.
Oh, okay.
The weird thing when I changed my name, so I had to be pretty on point. Like I lived with a trans roommate who was in her 60s who never changed her name.
Oh, wow.
But because I was in finance, they updated like my U4 before they technically should have. So they were like, you have to get this changed. You have to get this changed. Well, I could have walked into a courtroom in Kentucky and with a document from my doctor, and they would have changed it instantly. Oh. In Colorado, it's like a weird thing where you have to get fingerprinted and send it to the FBI. You have to send it to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
Wow.
And like I kept having issues, not anything I've done with the fingerprints, but just that the fingerprints weren't coming, like one finger wouldn't come out right.
Oh,
and
wow.
So like 6 weeks later, they'd reject it. But then you have to publish your name in a paper, like in a local paper, and give them like a month to like somebody to contest it, that you want to do this name change, and then you can go to the judge. So it took like 2 or 3 months.
What? Why, girl, you should just flew over to Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm like listening to this, and I'm like, what on earth? Like, they are stoned in the government, and then like that they just crazy. That's just crazy.
It was the craziest thing. I was like, who'd have thought like Denver to Kentucky, and Kentucky is going to be the easier one to do this.
Yeah, there's another. I love it.
This is another reason I love living in the UK. Our National Health Service provides support and surgeries for trans people.
Okay. That's awesome.
See, this is the thing that I genuinely wish that every American student to graduate high school would be required to do a study abroad for 2 weeks minimum. And whether it's 2 weeks in Canada or 2 weeks in Mexico, because you don't have to break the bank, you can just drive up to Canada. But just that 2 weeks alone of living in a different country to see how other people do it would change so much in our country. Because I feel like we live in this little bubble and we think that our stuff does not stink and our stuff is lined with diamonds. And I'm like, you know what? We do have a lot figured out in America, but we can still, what do you call it? Not arrogance, but where you feel like you don't listen to other people's.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Pretentious? No. Isn't it arrogant?
It's somewhere like that, but basically where you just, you think that you know it all.
Right.
And there's so much that I've learned, especially about happiness, which is what I want to talk about next, is I find that Americans across the board tend to be some of the most unhappy people that I have met in all of my world travels.
I believe
How
it.
is that possible to be in a country where we have so much, but yet people on the inside, when they close the door, when they go to bed, when they go and look at themselves in the mirror in the morning, genuinely are sad? And I mean, what is your take on happiness? What does happiness mean to you?
Well, so I think it's a great point. And from a broad perspective with America, I think it's we compare ourselves to other people, and we do that because we have things like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and we see this luxury style lifestyle, or even doing comedy. Like you see people who are getting booked on shows and mics, and it's like, ooh, I love doing this, and it kind of creates this like animosity if somebody's doing better than you, and things like that. So for me, like I'm at the point now, like I guess the best thing I would say, I'm a big quote person, and I heard a great quote like from a colonel in the army who passed away, and he said he had high aspirations and low expectations.
That's pretty good.
So pick a stretch goal, like pick what you really want to do, and then work like mad to achieve it. But if you don't achieve it, don't be disappointed.
Right.
But so you'll never be disappointed. You'll never be unhappy. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to have that perspective. But I look at the segments of my life, like getting a chance to hang with really good wrestlers. And
so happiness is wrestling with shirtless men. I agree, Denise. Amen. You gotta take it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me now, I'm a trans lesbian. So it would be wrestling with shirtless women. So it would be being on glow is my definition of sex. But no, it's just like working what you're achieving for. So like now being in stand-up, getting to a point where I can really sustain myself doing what I love, because I'm more of a comedy nerd, I guess.
That's good. Oh, I think Iggy froze.
Well, he's just disgusted by my answer. He's
like, no, I just wanted to stick with the shirtless men. No, I think also, I mean, it makes so much sense. Like, that's a good quote. Like, I think Americans, we just have so like the abundance of everything, and how, think about it. Like, what is our society here in the US, their work ethics, their lifestyle, everything. It's, work for all these material things, but there's no focus on like the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, So of course, when they've achieved all these material things, they've achieved those goals, the other stuff that they never took a look at is like, you done left me neglected. And now you are stuck with this hole, this void that you never addressed. And now you're like, well, what do I work for now? What do I have? I have nothing, even though you literally have everything,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that quote is a good, it's all about balance, making sure like, hey, yeah, have those high aspirations but low expectations, because at any given moment, everything could just go like out the window, and then what's next,
The other two I love are so I'm a football fan, like from a previous life, and I'm from Minnesota, so I'm
lesbian through and through. You're just a trans lesbian through and through. No doubt, no confusion.
I just need flannel and like combat boots, like. No, I grew up a Minnesota fan, which I'm always disappointed being a Minnesota fan because they never win anything. but the Minnesota Gophers have this like highly energetic coach. He's kind of like Tony Robbins in a lot of ways. His name's
They're actually the Gophers?
The Minnesota Gophers. So they're the college football team up there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's cute.
Yeah. So one of the things he says is the dream isn't the journey, or the dream isn't the destination, it's the journey. So he keeps saying the dream is the journey. The dream is the journey. So I keep trying to focus on that. The one thing I learned from being an evangelical Christian, like they would bring speakers in all the time. And the only quote that ever resonated with me was like, if something bad happens, you can either get bitter or you can get better. And so I really try to focus on that as something.
That is a good one.
I like that. Bitter
The
or
one
better?
gem out of how many years?
Bitter or better? I'm going to put that in the thing. And this is especially for all them bitter queens that are out there. You can be bitter or you can get better. And yes, bitter
That's y'all
or
choice.
better. Bitter or better. That I love that. I
Bitter
love
or
that.
better. I like that. That's a
Bitter
good
or
one.
better. So would you say that you are happy, Denise?
I would say, so transitioning, it took one thing off the table. It took the main thing, like it was always on my mind before. So now that's off the table. Am I happy? Yes. Am I satisfied? No. Because I really want to keep working in comedy, and I want to get, it feels like things are going well, even during the pandemic, but happy but not satisfied.
That's a good one. You were all about the in-between.
Yeah.
I love it. There it is.
What does
Just donate to my campaign.
what does success mean to you in comedy?
So success would mean like really being able to sustain myself. Like whether it's doing colleges or like half-hour specials, like those are kind of like the fruits of the labor. It's really being able to, whether it's being a touring comic. One thing I really want to do is be able to perform regularly at the Comedy Store. Like that's like kind of a goal I've had since I started. But there's been talk, like I've had conversations about potentially speaking at colleges down the road, which I think could be a good fit because I'm an R-rated comic. And some of this, and I'm kind of a shock comic, so a lot of the stuff I say, like I can tell, like even the other comics on the show are like, "What the fuck did she just say?" Like what was that? She's talking about like eating out girls and them tasting like SpaghettiOs. Like what is?
SpaghettiOs ain't the worst you could taste like shit.
Somebody just needs to wash their ass. Like that's all.
I think if that was the worst of it, SpaghettiOs, I mean that's not that bad,
The first showcase I did when I was in LA, I did it for Bobby Oliver, and it was an LGBTQ night, and there was another trans guy a trans man on the show, and I could hear him talking as I did my like R-rated bits, and he was saying, "Oh, that's too far. That's too far." Like, and I'm like, I don't want to offend people, but like, I was like, I don't feel like SpaghettiOs is too far.
It really isn't. I like how he taking that man, that trans man, like, look, bro, okay, look, we're trying to make for better men. Come on now, like, so.
Well, the best compliment I've ever gotten in comedy was, so here's the weird thing that I find in comedy is, I was on a show in Denver. I had met this guy at the Comedy Store in San Diego, and he came through and he booked 3 headliners on a random show, and he invited me to be on the show. He had no idea I was trans. Like this was the height when I was doing fitness modeling, before I looked like an out-of-shape Mickey Rourke, like. But like when I felt like I was at like the best I could possibly be when I was working out with a trainer and like spray tanned out of my mind. But he invited me on the show, and I opened for him, and I talked about being trans, and I could tell he had no idea. And afterwards, one of the other comics, one of the headline guys, told me they had to switch the lineup because I was so funny and real, nobody could follow me. And then he had told me before, he was like, I'm going to book you when you get out to LA. I'm going to put you on all this stuff. And after he found out I was trans, he never put me on anything again.
Damn. The shade. The shade, girl. Mm-mm. Whatever. You don't need them. You're going to eat. They're lost. That's, you know. And look, we're in a pandemic now, so it doesn't even matter.
I'm gonna lick their microphone at some point. Like, not in a sexual way, just like with the pandemic.
Maria, are you happy?
Yeah, actually, you know, I have done quite a bit of self-reflecting.
I'm not talking about the Nintendo Switch that you got for your birthday.
I mean, that's really what's making me happy right now. So, you think I'm lying? What do you think I was doing before I got on the show? I was like,
I know. So, Nintendo aside, is Maria happy?
Yeah, you know, Maria is happy. If I die tomorrow, God forbid, knock on wood. But if I die tomorrow, I know that I was on the path that I chose on my own terms. You feel me? Like, I was doing it my way, and I'm grateful for that. I tell this to my sister and to anyone that, you know, we've all had that same thought in our head at some period in our lives where we're like, I should be at this point, at this stage of my life, with this X amount of money, with this house, married, with so many kids. I think that expectation has been pushed upon us for far too long. And
what you're telling me is you were shooting all over yourself. Don't should all over yourself, Maria.
No, I'm saying like
you should this, you should that.
Right. At one point, this was years ago. No. I passed all that. My biological clock the bomb went off. It's done. No, it ain't happening. So but it does. Everybody goes through it. Everybody's like, I should be doing this. I should be at this point. No, according to who? Your parents? It's your life. They're going to be gone one day, and what you do will mean nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand you want to make your parents proud, but if you're doing what you want to do and you're succeeding at what you want to succeed in, they're going to be proud of you no matter what. And if they aren't, that's on them. You know, that's on them. You can't control someone else's feelings. You can't control someone else's reactions. So yeah, like, I have to say, I'm happy. I'm happy but not satisfied, and I felt that. So, you know, like, yeah, I'm doing the damn thing. I'm gonna keep doing the damn thing, and you know, that's what it is. So you can thank you for coming to my TED Talk. If you want to catch me in my next seminar, and I can tell you how to live your best life. No, I'm just kidding.
It's $10,000 a seminar.
Exactly.
There you go.
$10,000 to tell you how to live your best life. God.
That's awesome.
Oh, Ray, I didn't even know I had a daughter. Oh my God, so cute. I feel like I'm besties with Ray. I just need Ray to know that.
He gets up at 2 a.m. in Wales to watch our comedy shows. Like,
that ain't loyal ass shit right there, Ray. I love you for that. You a real one, Ray. First place I'm going, UK, I'm gonna go visit you. We're gonna have a drink we're gonna have a pint at the pub.
Yes. It'd be brilliant.
I'm gonna make my way through the UK. Yeah, are you happy, Iggy?
I was not last week. I was actually very dark. And
it happens.
But overall, happiness is, for me personally, it's like an exercise. It's something that I have to practice every day. It is not something that is given. It is not like I have to work to be happy. I have to meditate. I have to do my exercises. I have to write in my gratitude journal to remind me of all of the wonderful things that I have, because I have a tendency to like if I'm outside on my deck, and instead of looking at the ocean, I'm looking at the rusted bolts that need to be replaced because the deck is falling. And I've just been trained to look at what needs to be fixed versus so I get very micro tunnel operational, I'll call it. And so it's a lot of work for me to just be like, pivot, look, appreciate.
This reflects our personalities. Because every time I'm talking to Iggy, he's like, oh my God, this, and I'm over here like, well, I'm chilling. I play video games for the last 7 hours. I feel great. Maybe you need to take a time out, Iggy, and just, like you over here. I have to exercise and meditate. I'm like, that happiness should not have to be me exercising.
For me, happiness is work. Like it's a practice.
And everybody's different, and that's okay.
It's like a yoga practice or any other, like it is something that I have to cultivate. It doesn't happen naturally for me.
Do my yoga today.
And I find for me personally, because I'm an extrovert, helping other people and aligning what my passion is, which is comedy, and being of service, that for me gives me a lot of purpose, meaning, and joy. So running the Misfit Toys Comedy Studio, helping female voices get heard, working together, and it's been an amazing journey. We're in our 6th semester. Our next semester starts on the 4th in 2021. We have 20 Misfit Toys. Everyone's killing it. They're gigging all over, winning competitions. I'm just so excited and so proud of everybody. And I'm sorry, gentlemen, but yeah, the studio is for women, and there's just something about being with other women that I personally love. And like I said before, it reminds me of my childhood because I would always play with the girls in the sandbox and play with the like the dolls and the thing. I never was the kid that played football with the boys. And so for me, it just brings me back to my childhood, and I'm just like, I just feel like I can be myself and I don't have to work and just relaxing. And so that's, in addition, I just think women are funnier. I'm sorry. Women are funny. They make
Don't be sorry. Facts are facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, facts are facts.
Scrolling through Netflix, and it's like pasty white man, black man, pasty white man, brown girl. I'm watching the brown girl. That's the show that I'm gonna watch because that's gonna be funny to me. Like I don't know. Like I just that their struggle, their journey resonates with me. I get it. Maybe it's because I was picked on so much as a child, and being the sissy boy and the gay one and being a communist and being named Igor. Like I ate alone and one until I graduated high school. Like college was the first time that I ever like had friends. So for me, that male energy always, and this is something I have to heal with, but like that was what I was scared of, getting beat up at school because that would happen, or getting teased or pushed. So that energy for me is like danger, danger, danger.
Yeah. And it is. Ask any woman. It is danger, danger, danger.
Like I still have this, and it's almost instinctual where I hit this broed out thing. I'm like, I tighten up, I drop my voice, and I kind of get into this like protective.
Yeah.
And that's so real. Like I ordered pizza the other day, and I pick up the phone. This is not a phone. This is my mouse. And I'm like, yo, bro, can I get a pepperoni? Why can't I order it in a regular voice? Why do I need to put on my pepperoni?
That's my regular voice. That's why me and you work. I'm like, hey, bro, let me get a pepperoni pizza. Nah, man, I don't want that. You better not forget the ranch this time.
Like, what are you gonna do?
That's my regular voice.
But it's like it's. I mean, like, what am I scared of? That they're gonna like put something on my gay pizza? Like they're gonna be like, oh, we got a gay one.
You never know.
Extra glitter on their pizza. Like, what am I scared of? Why can't I just be me on the phone when I order a pizza? But I can't. I'm terrified to be just myself because I'm worried that they might do something to my food.
Yeah, no, that's real.
I totally get it. I mean, when I first transitioned, I always felt like I had to be like super made up. Like you would have never caught me on a mic without like makeup on or anything. because it always feels like people are judging you. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's like, well, there's danger if somebody finds out.
Yeah, no,
And
then that's real. That's a real fear. That's a legitimate fear, Absolutely.
So
Um,
hopefully we can, through our comedy and our platform and sharing our stories, can alleviate this fear and help people understand that, hey, men, you scare the heck out of almost all of us.
yeah,
And you don't
that's
mean
real.
to. You don't mean to, but just especially for a woman, my sister, that walking to your car, going to an open mic, just being like, men don't have to worry
Just
about
running up on us, asking for the time, like out of nowhere, like, don't touch me, sir. Where did you come from? I'm ready to throw bows. I will fight a dude. I don't care. I do not care. I am not the one. So just letting y'all know, you need to take down that toxic masculinity before you get knocked out by a big feminine bitch. Okay, is all I'm saying. Damn.
and I need to go out with you so you can protect me.
Absolutely, Denise. I got you, girl. Oh, I am the girl that if me and Iggy were friends as kids, I would be the one protecting. Like, don't say that to him. I would. Oh my God, I would be that girl. I would be like beating up all the little boys, messing with Iggy, messing with you. I don't care. I beat up the little boys, little girls. I don't care. You don't mess with my friends, even though I got picked on a lot.
Oh, I totally, and I'm totally the one who will back down, kind of thing. Even I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna like walk away, kind of thing. One of my really pretty blonde friends, we went to Napa together when I first transitioned, and a homeless guy in downtown Napa was mean to me, and we had been drinking wine all day, and she totally got in a fist fight with him. And it turned into a thing with like 30 other homeless guys like there. And I was like, I don't know what just happened.
She's over here going to end up on bumfights.com.
Yes. Just like she's taking her earrings off. Like,
that's awesome. She can come to the barbecue anytime.
So before we go, we ran over a little bit, but it was such a great show.
Good stuff.
What would you love to leave our viewers with? Anything at all?
Sage advice, sage wisdom.
Yeah, so I'm just going to start with, happiness starts with A, knowing who you are, and B, knowing what you want. Once you can figure out those two things, the rest starts to fall in place. So good luck this year. Maybe your New Year's resolutions is to really figure out what you want and figure out who you truly are.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to challenge all of our viewers and everybody who's listening and watching. Maria, what is your last thing? What would you give to our viewers and our fans?
I know this is hard for a lot of people, but I think everyone could, use a little bit of that. Oh, Merry Christmas and all the holidays. Stop worrying about what other people are thinking. I really think that is a huge thing, like whatever mountain that people really always encounter. That is like, they're like, oh, I can't, what if this, what if that? I'm like, look, you worried about what they're doing. They're not thinking about you, when you're living your life and doing that. I think that's something that we all could benefit from. Like, don't worry about they're going to judge you for doing this. If you want to do something, just do it. Who cares? What are they going to do if you fail? What are they going to do if you succeed? What are they going to do? Period. Nothing. They ain't shit. So don't worry about them. That's something I challenge people to do because we need more of that. You know what I'm saying? That's my sage.
Denise.
That's awesome. So mine would just be number one, be authentic. So as long as it took me a long time to learn this, but as long as you're not doing anything illegal, as long as everything is consensual, like it doesn't matter at all. Like, so just be authentic to who you are. And then number two is if you have a dream, like, go for it, like figure out like an avenue and like work hard and go for it. Like we get one shot that we know of, like try to be happy.
Yep. Oh, very well said. Very well said.
For those of you that want more comedy, I'm doing Dat Fans Christmas Eve show at 3 o'clock. You can find on my Facebook page. You just text, you get the ticket for free. Are there any other shows that you want to promote before we go that you're doing this weekend or for the holidays?
So for me, did you want to go, Maria?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I do have a show, but go ahead first.
Okay, so I'm doing Dat Fan show on Saturday at 7 o'clock Pacific time, and then I'm producing my first show through Flappers on January 10th. It's going to be a brunch show. It's called Bottomless Mimosas and One Night Stands.
Oh, yes!
And the whole goal is we're all just going to get hammered together on camera and have really funny comics, and it's going to be super fun. So just finalizing that. So January 10th.
Love it. Love it.
I'm going to put that on my calendar. That sounds like a super fun show. I am there. I have a show on Sunday at 6 o'clock. It's with Up Comedy Shows called The Panel. It's really fun. So we pick a few different stories, on like news stories, and we comment on each one. So I'm coming out on that on Sunday the 27th. On the 29th, I'm actually doing a roast birthday show for our fellow Misfit toy, Heather Rogue. So it's her birthday show. I'm very excited. She is also a trans woman. So she's super fun, super funny, super sweet. So that's on the 29th, I believe at 6 o'clock. I'll have all of the information on my Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same, Maria Delgado. And then lastly, on I believe the 30th, I have another show with The Panel, but this one is The Panel Woman Up. So it's all female, all women comedians for this specific panel show, where it's also the same formula of the news articles, and we comment. It's so much fun because the articles, some of them articles is crazy, and you're just like, really? So that one's on the 30th. You can, like I said, you can find all of that information on my link tree, Maria Delgado, and it's on my Instagram. But yeah, so very excited for all these shows.
I love it. Anyone who wants to join the studio or learn more about it, email us at misfittoyscomedy@gmail.com. And Mr. Ray, he's going to take us out. I'm leaving you with my favorite joke right now. January 1st, 2021. We can all look back on this year with 2020 vision.
Yeah, that's a good dad joke.
Ray, thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. We'll see you next week. Same channel, same time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.